When you look at the stats from last night, Celtic had 53% possession. They did only have the 6 shots on target, where Atletico Madrid had 15 shots. But that isn't the full story of the game. The full story of the game, we all know how it played out in front of our eyes. But the fact is, Atletico are a quality team. Celtic fought toe-to-toe and created some wonderful opportunities in the first half. The boys played absolutely fantastic. And this is how another Spanish paper seen the Celtic game last night. It's probably one of the most interesting headlines that you'll ever see if you know that Spain does like a foam party at their fiestas. So the headline is, from battle to foam party, Atletico draws madly in Glasgow. Simone's men with number 74 shirt do not go beyond the weakest rival in the group. That's a headline and a half. And it's difficult, and this is the rest of the article. It reads, it's difficult to return to old lovers or heartbreaks, past places, even though through your memories, although violent and happy endings. Atletico Madrid did dress her like this at times, passionate and red. The Scots were also waiting for him in the same way, but they had both changed. Discussions, tantrums were all forgotten. It was made a festival. It was made a festival of light and colour before the game. Atletico is not the team that arrived in Glasgow in 74, ready to kill or be killed. Celtic are not the team that made European football fall in love with them 50 years ago either. Simone's men are the highest scoring squad in the continent in 2023, only behind Borussia Dortmund. Celtic, although, dominated the local championship with an iron fist over the last decade, and less be said about Europe the better. You would think that the Scots would come out furious about what happened in their stadium 50 seasons ago, but this time it was not a battle but a foam party. Simone said in the preview he did not like the hostile environment, but with people laughing in the stands while Brendan Rodgers' team came out happy, the article goes on to say. And then it finishes off the article. Then DePaul committed an irresponsibility in the centre of the field, costing him an expulsion. Above all, because refereeing, we insist, is not very Champions League like. The music had returned with the tensions, the party, and happy Celtic were back. There was no more fanfare. The foam had dispelled and the battle had commenced. Interesting way that the Spanish actually see the Celtic game went last night, and that was from El Mundo. There's one thing for sure, that Simone wasn't surprised at all by what he saw against Celtic. He did say before the game, he said after the game, he said, look, I wasn't surprised. I seen how well they played against Feyenoord and Lazio, although they didn't come out victorious in either of those games. He went on to say, is this the best you have seen Celtic? He said, absolutely. The first 10 minutes, Celtic blew us away. A goal in the first 2 minutes took us by surprise, he said. Took us by surprise, Mad Jackson. You were left standing. There's been some really interesting headlines all around Europe, and one of the stranger ones is the fact that a councillor or a politician was photographed with a Palestine flag last night. And SDLP man was amongst those displaying a Palestine flag in Glasgow versus Atletico Madrid. And they went on to they actually named the guy Councillor Paul Docherty, representing Blackmount in the city's west end of Belfast. So one of Belfast's own, as a councillor, was spotted, and that actually managed to make a headline. Now, the fact is, Celtic only managed a 2-2 draw against Atletico Madrid last night. It was a fantastic result as far as I'm concerned. I am disappointed that we did not do more, because I think taking the scalp of a team that when they do play their next game in La Liga, they will win it, because the team that they're playing are almost bottom of the La Liga. They will go top. They will go top of La Liga above Real Madrid. So getting through to the next knockout stage is going to be really, really difficult. Pat Bonner was talking about it. He stressed that finishing third should be a realistic aim for Celtic, with only 3 games left to play in the Champions League group stage. He says, look, if you want football after Christmas, Europa League is the way. I've been saying that for weeks now, but they will have to do it in the last 3 games without Rio Hatate. Brendan Rodgers reveals that Rio Hatate did suffer another hamstring injury, and it looks like that he will miss the rest of the Champions League group stages. Is it time Is it time for Paulo Bernardo to step up to the mark? Paulo Bernardo obviously came on from yesterday. A lot of people were shouting out, especially me. I would love to have seen him getting on the pitch, and we did. He didn't do too much too wrong, but there's a big question mark. It's not just let's see how Paulo Bernardo excels, hopefully, in the next couple of months at Celtic, whilst Rio Hatate is out. But there's a big question mark last night over Callum McGregor and Callum McGregor's role as captain, not so much captain, but his role on the pitch. He was kind of found missing a lot of the game. Tell me what your thoughts about Callum McGregor. If you were to drop Callum McGregor, who would you bring in? Who would you bring in at this current time? Would you bring in Iwata to play in the position of Callum McGregor? Because let's face it, Callum McGregor didn't have a fantastic game last night. One player that got took off, which was a big surprise by everyone in the stadium and everyone around the world watching the Celtic game, was Lewis Palmer. Lewis Palmer obviously scored that cracker, absolute screamer of a goal from coming in from the back corner of the box with a ball that came over from Dyson Maeda. And he's told people what the Celtic manager, Brendan Rodgers, said after the game. Palmer said that Brendan said it's just to keep learning. He congratulated us for getting a point in this type of game. He said that we have to keep on learning. Palmer was obviously brilliant. It was strange that he got took off, but you can understand why Brendan did it. He wanted to shore up the defence. So far in the Champions League, Celtic have continued to progress each game, which is all we can ask for. We wanted, when it look, a lot of people are going to go back to the summer and say, look, if we had brought in a little bit more quality right at the start of the season, or even brought in Lewis Palmer to get that fitness level up before the Champions League started and get the team together, I think a lot of things came down to the fact with the injuries and players that came in never had a full pre-season. Let's hope that after the Madrid game we can move on from this and we can go on to higher heights. Let's take that form that we took in the first 60 minutes of the game the first 55 minutes of the game last night, and take that on to the weekend's game, because then that's all that matters at the moment. Talking about Callum McGregor, he was obviously saying last night also that him and his teammates were slightly annoyed that they did not get the win. He said, everyone's feeling it in there in the dressing room. Yeah, brilliant performance, but we're disappointed not to get the win for the fans against a really top team. It shows the value of the performance, it shows how good we were, and it shows what we have, what it takes. We take the positive, we take the point, and we move on, said Callum McGregor. Tell me your thoughts on Callum McGregor, because I think really it was probably one of his worst games at Champions League level. Some of the times he was caught running about. It was interesting when, just before Brendan Rodgers made the change, Callum McGregor was getting dragged back into a back five. And then hence the reason Brendan Rodgers makes the change and brings on Phillips. And then we go from a back five to back three. So that was interesting. Do you want to see Celtic playing a back three in the league? We've proven we can do it. Do we need to get another striker in? Can give Kyogo a bit of a rest, because let's face it, after a certain point last night you could see that his legs were going from him, and then he was just absolutely knackered. But Brendan Rodgers did say in the interview after the game, he said, look, trying to sustain that level of intensity at this level of European football for 90 minutes is really, really hard. He says it's something that we will strive to, but it's really difficult. I think more of the things that we need to think about is the way that we manage the game. We played at an intensity which did shock Atletico Madrid, but what we didn't do was manage the game in the second half. Brendan Rodgers did say we did expect Atletico to come out and attack us in the second half. Look, they were down 2-1 against what they thought was the weakest team in the group. I mean, they basically seen Celtic as the weakest team in the group, and they thought that it should be taking maximum points. When they looked at the campaign at the beginning of August, they would have thought they would take maximum points from Celtic. As it stands just now, they've only taken 1 point from Celtic, and I think that Celtic goes to Madrid in a couple of weeks' time, just about 10 days' time, and it's all to play for. It's all to play for. If Celtic can get anything at all from Madrid, it will be another fantastic result. Tell me what you think about the captain, though. Should he be getting a rest? Do we need someone else to come in midfield? Do we need to use the squad rotation that people have been talking about a little bit more when it comes to league? But will that affect the league performance? Tell me your thoughts in the comments, and have a nice day, Celtic fans all around the world.
Lit. Roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to the